What is going on today, Dallas Mavericks fans and MFFLs? I hope you guys had a great weekend. The Dallas Mavericks have now seen themselves sitting at 2-0 after a 125-120 game against the Brooklyn Nets at home. We saw exactly what we know for the most part this team has usually been based around since he's got into the league. We're talking about Luka Doncic. Of course, 49 points. He showed exactly why he is that superstar level player. We're talking about a 4-time first-team All-NBA level player. And on the trajectory, if everything can stay, I guess, on afloat as it is right now, we're going to be able to see Luka Doncic possibly compete for a fifth-time first-team All-NBA. So we just want to see this continue to get better. We also want to see more guys keep themselves involved, and especially just some more defensive improvement. But right now, sitting at 2-0 is a great start. Let's get into this game a little bit.
The Dallas Mavericks, 125. The Brooklyn Nets, 120. You saw this game, Derek Lively gets the start. And to me, again, that was more exciting just because, again, it feels like Jason Kidd. I'm not comparing the players or anything, Christian Wood or Derek Lively. But we saw kind of the little games that Jason Kidd, we saw him playing with Christian Wood last season. At certain points, it felt like it was detrimental to the team because I don't think Christian Wood is a perfect player or anything like that. But when you're looking at the roster that the Dallas Mavericks had last season, a Christian Wood type player was one of those guys that, even though it wasn't the perfect fit, it was probably the best fit we had when we're talking about in terms of a guy like Luka Doncic. Some of the best ball we played was when Christian Wood, although the Dwight Powell injury, Christian Wood was giving us some of the better games that we had during a certain stretch of last season. So I was just more excited. I was glad to see that Derek Lively did get the start. Again, you don't want to play around with your best players because, again, although I don't care how young he is, again, Derek Lively's 19 years old. We're still talking about a rookie. He's going to have to do some learning. He's going to have to figure out just exactly how to handle other bigger bodies because, again, he can get a little stronger, get a little bigger, of course, but that's to come with age and just more developments. But Derek Lively getting the start. This game was pretty much one of those where you could kind of see other players starting to try to fill out the game. Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be a guy that you're going to look up some nights, and he's going to maybe be second in scoring. He might be, I'm not going to say first in scoring. You have a guy like Luka Doncic, but he might be some of those games where you're going to see some 30-point games out of Tim Hardaway Jr., whether that's off the bench or whatever his role is going to be. But when you're talking about the Dallas Mavericks, we're still a work in progress because I will say, although I feel like Kyrie Irving is a little bit more comfortable playing next to a Luka Doncic, you're looking at the point where still, what I will say after this point is that, go back to the original point, that Kyrie Irving is still a work in progress and that Luka Doncic in that combination, they're figuring out how exactly to play off one another. But what I will say is we are starting to see that there's staggered minutes a little bit more. You're starting to see Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving start the game, of course. And then usually now, what we got so used to, and I've become accustomed to seeing as a Mavericks fan, is Luka Doncic playing predominantly those entire first quarters and sometimes trying to help the team get off to a nice start. But we are starting to see those moments being taken a little bit. So Luka Doncic can kind of go to the bench now a little earlier. Now the team can pretty much be run through a Kyrie Irving and then vice versa. Then when it's time for Kyrie Irving to leave the game, Luka Doncic is in the game. And we're going to start to see that a little bit more because I feel like when we have either one initiating the offense, we play two completely different ways. You are seeing Luka Doncic get out and transition a little bit more to start this season. And we all know more times than not, our offense is going to want to play a little bit faster with a guy like Kyrie Irving running the show. But one thing I'm just very excited to see so far in this season is Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Like I said, although they're still learning to play off one another, we're seeing Luka Doncic play a little bit more off ball. We're starting to see Kyrie Irving initiate the offense a little bit more, even with Luka on the court. And that allows Luka, I'm going to say, the opportunity to not necessarily take certain possessions off, but where he's not as gassed as he normally is. We've seen Luka Doncic. Of course, we know the tears of scoring he can get on. Of course, we know his playmaking and passing ability. We know he's a great rebounder for his position. But we've always seen there are certain games where Luka Doncic feels like he's doing so much. It kind of looks like, as fans especially, Luka Doncic is doing so much heavy lifting earlier on in the game that you're looking up and seeing he's a little gassed in the fourth quarter. I'm more so glad of just seeing that the way we're kind of occupying the minutes throughout especially I'm going to say the backcourt especially, that this is one of those where Luka Doncic is going to find himself being able to have many more of these games in the fourth quarter because his legs are not as tired and he still has some wind to breathe because, again, you do have Kyrie Irving taking some weight off his shoulders a little bit. Kyrie Irving did not have the best game in this one. We're talking about 34 minutes played, 6 of 17 on field goals, 1 of 4 from 3. He was 4 for 4 from the free throw line. And what I will give him credit for, we've seen Kyrie earlier on in this season, early on in the season, 3 games, but in this game especially, being a very good rebounder. Kyrie Irving is one of those guys that does the small things. And again, I don't feel like he gets as much credit as he should. He has 17 points in this game. Like I said, it was far from one of those Kyrie Irving just break out on a tear scoring games, but he showed that he still was able to capitalize on some mismatches at certain points, especially as the game was still in the balance, I guess. Because the Brooklyn Nets, one thing they did not do was give up and pretty much let the Mavericks blow the doors off at any point. And I guess you want to say, when you do know you have a playmaker like a Luka Doncic, you're going to look up here and say, Luka Doncic is +9, 49 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. We know what that is. But the biggest thing, although he goes 9 of 14 on 3-pointers, 16 of 25 on field goals, very efficient game. He goes 8 of 10 from the free throw line. If we can get a consistent free throw shooting Luka Doncic, the sky is the limit. We're going to start talking about a guy that if the rest of the team around him is where it needs to be, we're talking about the players, of course, and also the coaching. Let's be clear, the coaching. Then you're going to see Luka Doncic possibly be able to start to stack those MVP awards in the next few years. Because, again, we already seen what the Nikola Jokic is. We've seen the Giannis Antetokounmpos have done in this league. And, again, we're just waiting for Luka to have his time. We need to start trying to put together actual teams that can try to get these championship aspirations, I guess, to come to fruition in Dallas. But Luka Doncic, we know the player that he is. Josh Green is one of those guys that I feel like even if he doesn't get the credit, again, Josh Green in this game, he plays 28 minutes, goes 2 for 7 on field goals, 0 for 3 from the 3, and 7 points total, but he's +8 on the plus minus. I feel like plus minus is one of the most overrated stats sometimes. But in certain, I guess you want to say points of the season, you're going to be able to say that sometimes it is a good testament to shows what kind of player you are, or have a contributing type player. Because Josh Green still ends up with 3 steals in this game, 2 assists. I'm going to see Josh Green is going to be one of those guys. We do know the extension he just got. He's going to be one of those players that we're going to see continue to add and contribute to this team because Josh Green does a lot of those small things that sometimes don't show up on the stat sheet also. We do know he is one of those guys that, again, when his 3 ball is falling, Josh Green opens up so much more in his game because we know the athleticism he has. We know what he can be in the fast break. So you're going to just continue to see guys like that be able to get a little bit more comfortable. Again, we already see Josh Green playing 28 minutes. So there's nothing, obviously, he's a big part of this rotation. So just keep on working at that. Derrick Jones Jr. got the start in this game, and that was a little confusing just because, again, Jason Kidd, sometimes it comes off to me as if he overthinks what exactly the strategy is. Of course, he saw that Derrick Jones Jr., he's more of a lengthy type player, so he's going to look for a guy like that to be more of a defensive presence. We know what he can be in the fast break. Derrick Jones Jr., his biggest, I guess you want to say ailment is his outside perimeter shooting. He goes 0 of 2 from 3. So that's a guy that if he's knocking down the 3, you're going to be able to see what he can do. But to me, he's more one of those guys. He's going to be kind of here and there. You might see him have a couple spot starts here in the year, but I feel like Josh Green is going to be that guy that we're going to end up supplanting as our 3, I guess you want to consider. We're talking about this is now such a positional league, but a Josh Green being one of our regular starters is what I'm going to look for going into the future. Hopefully, because to me, you want as many players out there that can just be very, I guess you want to say, give you a certain different look at certain positions. And I feel like as many versatile players as you can have on the court at one time, the better we're going to be as a team. Another guy I want to talk about a little bit is, even though it's not always showing up in the stat sheet, I want to talk about Grant Williams. He has 5 points, ends up 5 personal fouls, unfortunately, in this game, but 6 rebounds. Again, at certain points we saw throughout this game, we know some of the guys returning. Spencer Dinwiddie. We're talking about you guys like Dorian Finney-Smith. Of course, we know what they have been to the Mavericks, especially that Western Conference Finals run a couple seasons ago. Spencer Dinwiddie, for some reason, hit a stretch of this game where he could not miss. I'm talking about he ends up going 6 of 12 on 3. I think it was about 3 or 4 3-pointers in a row, and he could not miss at a certain point of this game. So It was just good for the Mavericks to be able to take over control. Luka Doncic in the fourth quarter, 3 after 3, goes on a barrage, and we saw the crazy three-pointer. Completely out of control. I mean, under control for an out of control situation. He's pretty much locked down on the sideline right next to the Mavs bench, throws up a prayer in Luka Doncic terms, and it goes in. That helps solidify this win. The Dallas Mavericks are now sitting at 2-0. That's a great start for this team, and all we need to do now is just focus on getting the details under control, and we'll be in a nice position to try to make somewhat of a run.
As of right now, again, the Dallas Mavericks sitting at 2-0 and facing off tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies, the 0-3 Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis tonight. So the Dallas Mavericks are going to have to show that they are a serious team. What I want to see much better over the last couple games, again, it's still a work in progress. I want to see this defense continue to improve. My thing is, I think it's going to be all good to go as long as guys are able to stay healthy and continue to be able to stay a unit. And again, because I want to see guys like Derek Lively, I want to see them get as much time together with guys like Josh Green, Grant Williams, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving. That is, to me, that's the starting lineup I want to see going forward, game in and game out. And as long as you let these guys get comfortable with each other, just get familiar with the other's tendencies, we're going to be good to go on offense. I mean, we already know where we're going to be on offense, but I mean more so defensively. I believe we'll get much stronger defensively. At the end of the day, we still have to remember, a guy especially like Derek Lively, he's 19 years old. We're going to have to let him go through his growing pains. You can't protect him as much as Jason Kidd likes to do the unorthodox thing. Again, as he already spoke about, he tried to keep him out of foul trouble. He saw the Brooklyn Nets were kind of working off a little bit more of a small ball type game, so he was trying to help him out a little bit by putting in a Maxi Kleber or Dwight Powell. What I want to see is just letting Derek Lively take his lumps as he gets them, because again, at the end of the day, if you're talking about trying to have any real playoff positioning and any just playoff success in the long run for this season, we're going to talk about Derek Lively is going to be very important to that goal. So you have got to let him take his lumps now. So that way we're looking by All-Star break. We're looking mid-season. By the end of the regular season, you see Derek Lively has taken those bumps. He's gotten used to it. He's figured out how exactly to maneuver through them. So we're going to still be able to see some young guys stay involved. I want to see Jaden Hardy still show that what he can be able to take advantage of a little bit more. We already know what Tim Hardaway Jr. is at this point of his career. He's going to be your volume shooter off the bench, a guy that you're looking in there. Sometimes he can spot start, but at certain points, we know Tim Hardaway Jr. is in games to try to score as many points as he can. That's where I guess you want to say his major contribution is. So I feel like a guy like Jaden Hardy is going to be able to do that a little bit better as time goes on, because first of all, he's younger, and we already have seen he has the offensive capabilities to do some of the same similar things a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr. can do. So I want to see some of these young guys. Maybe we'll see it, a guy like Olivier Maxence Prosper get a little bit more run. Again, I'm going to plan and hope, for my personal opinion right now, he's probably going to be a guy we're going to see in the G League a little bit, up and down a little bit, just so his coaching staff especially can try to get him as much work as possible. Again, so you're looking for as many guys that can be major contributing factors. But the Dallas Mavericks do face off against the Memphis Grizzlies tonight, once again at 7:30 p.m. in Memphis. The 0-3 Memphis Grizzlies, but they still have talent. We already know how this is, so we will get into that a little bit later. I appreciate you guys for all the support. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and again, definitely comment so I can know you guys' thoughts on this, the Dallas Mavericks going forward. I appreciate you as always. And always, once again, go Mavs.